Good morning, everyone. Hope I am audible. We'll just wait for another 3 minutes and then we will start our session. Okay, fine. We will get to start. Almost 50% of the strength is here, so I don't want to waste your time. Okay, students, before continuing the class, I'm not sure how many of you people still remember what we discussed. Anyhow, I will just go with one polling question based upon the answers for that particular question will be based upon the discussion what we had in the previous class. Okay, so here we go. So please answer this. I think you know how to answer this. You got to open your browsers, type in this menti.com and use the code 5643887 and answer the question what you are looking on the screen. Please go ahead. I hope I'm clear in my instructions. Open your browsers, go to menti.com, give the code 5643887 and answer the question there. Can you do this? I repeat, open the browsers, type the URL www.menti.com, menti.com. There you are supposed to enter the code, and the code is 5643887, and then start answering. Experience, efficiency, growth, budget. So at least one person has answered it. Few more can I expect? Good. Budget, business continuity, on-demand scalability, availability, increasing data security, mobility, reduce cost, easy data recovery. Good. Growth in the sense it's not appropriate. I mean to say it's a very vague answer. So growth in what aspect you are expecting? Like growth in business, growth in financial way, or growth in your clients? It's a very vague answer, growth. Agility, efficiency. Efficiency also is not clear, much clear. Efficiency in what sense? Efficiency in how you deliver the business, efficiency in how you gain the money, efficiency in how you use the technology. I think you can edit your answers. Only 8 students have answered till now. Make it fast. Make it fast. Make it fast. Cost, paid and rent, assurance, collaboration. My goodness, out of 48, 12%, only 12 students. That is hardly 1/4. Maximum utilization, disaster management. Oh my God. Portable. Make it fast, make it fast. Give the answers as early as possible. I once again repeat how to give your answers. Open your browser, type www.menti.com. When it opens, you are supposed to enter the code. Enter the code that is displayed on the screen. Okay, that is, in other words, let me tell you the code 5643887. Once you enter the code, you will be shown a question, and the question reads is mention a few business drivers. Sorry, I've written the word there. Okay, mention a few business drivers that boosted cloud computing. Mr. Srihari, please add your roll number. Srihari, please add your roll number. Good. Only 19 students have answered, which means all others have lost what they had attended in their class, and I don't think so they remember what we had done. Okay, anyhow, I will stop this. I will stop the poll. Okay, now let me go with the class work. See, as I told, we were discussing about the origin and the influence factors of the cloud, which you can understand that clearly applications of internet has brought the cloud into existence. And we had also discussed a little bit definitions, and the most appropriate definition will be from NIST, that is National Institute of Standards and Technology. And according to NIST, cloud computing can be defined as a model which is enabled for ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access for sharing a pool of configurable resources that too, and they can be rapidly provisioned and released. That means they can very quickly, they can be attached and released with minimal or less management effort for providing the services. So that's about the standard definition. Coming to the business planners, if you people, the business drivers, if you people remember, most exactly the factor that has driven the cloud computing into existence, and that has supported the existence of the cloud computing. Okay, so from the business point of view, you can see that the first and foremost thing is the capacity planning. When you start your business, of course, you are supposed to create your resources, and these resource creation should be matching the strategy very exactly. That means for your business, how much are the resources required, only they are supposed to be created. And if you there is a chance for you to create resources more than the need or less than the need. If you create more than the need, then you call that as a lead strategy. If you create less than the needing, then you call that as a lag strategy. But if you create exactly the same amount of the resources for the need of the business to run, then you call that as exactly the match strategy. Usually when you start the business, either you'll be falling under lead strategy or lag strategy, but it is very difficult to attain that match strategy. So cloud computing just supports this match strategy. Okay, and of course it reduces cost in many ways. It reduces in persons, that is for the human resources. It reduces the cost for office space. It reduces for infrastructure. It reduces the cost. You can mention many other things with respect to the cost reduction. And organization agility, yes, we have to be very much agile. Why? Because as and when the business grows, accordingly the organization will also be growing. You can, on the day one, you cannot have a number of resources or a number of people for you to take. Okay, and that's about the organizational agility. Apart from that, you will be coming across the technology innovations, clustering, grid computing, and also how technology innovations versus enabling technologies can be considered as a influential factor for cloud computing to come into the existence. Now, moving on to the next topic, further to go deeper about the cloud, we need to understand a few terminologies. We need to understand what these particular terms might be meaning. We are not new to these words, okay, but we'll be looking into these words in a newer sense. That is it, okay. So first and foremost one is the cloud. What does the cloud means? Here, for our understanding, okay, in our course, cloud means a distinct IT environment which is specifically designed for certain purpose, and this purpose will be in terms of remotely providing certain resources, and these resources are, of course, they are scalable, and these resources should be present within a finite boundary. See, very simple way to understand, cloud refers to one sort of environment. What sort of environment this is? This is an IT environment, that is information technology environment. Okay, so this environment has been designed for a specific purpose, and this purpose is nothing but to provide resources remotely. That means we have certain environment, that to IT environment, and in this IT environment we can provide the resources accessible from a remote location as well, and these resources are scalable and measurable, and entirely within your control, which means that there is a finite boundary. Okay, so that is what a cloud means. So that's what the definition goes. A cloud refers to a distinct IT environment which is designed for the purpose of remotely provisioning what scalable and measured IT resources with a finite boundary. That means there cannot be vague assignments of the resources. Vague assigning will not happen. Vague way of scaling or else vague way of measuring the things cannot be happening. Okay, it's something like, why I call this vague way of measuring, in the sense, see, if I ask any student, have you prepared for your exam? Obviously, what will be the answer? Yes, I have prepared. How much have you prepared? If I ask immediately, then the answers what I'll be getting will be in the form of vague. Sir, I have studied for 3 years and I feel that my preparation is sufficient enough. Another student says, I have studied whole night and still I don't think that my preparation is not sufficient. So that's what we'll be calling it as a vague thing. Okay, so these vague way of measuring cannot be happening in the cloud. Why? Because whatever you will be utilized, okay, it has to be measurable, it has to be, obviously it has to be scalable according to the need, and then whatever you are measuring, you are supposed to pay for it. Got it? Okay, so that is what is exactly the cloud. Now here in the definition of the cloud, we had talked about IT resources, isn't it? That is what this particular resource has to be remotely accessible, and it should be scalable, it should be measurable. That's what we were keep on telling when we talked about the cloud. Now, what is this IT resource exactly? IT resource can be any artifact which is related to information technology in terms of hardware or a software. It can be any artifact. It can either be a hardware or it can be either a software. When we discussed about the examples, we had talked about, especially when I was talking about the virtualization, and when I was telling you about what to say, the hierarchy or the taxonomy of the virtualization, I was telling you that system processes also can be virtualized. Okay, so the software component is an IT resource. Similarly, on the other hand, I was telling you that network can also be virtualized. So here, the network, which is a hardware component, is an artifact. Okay, so whatever the resource that is being related within the purview of information technology related entities, you can call them as a resources. You can call them as a resources. Now, third one is on-premise. On-premise. So what exactly is on-premises? We definitely know that, okay, by this time, when we want to run business, we'll be having our own network. And if we want to have certain machines, we were telling you that these machines will be available on the cloud. Okay, so that means that particular cloud is some other network and you are in some other network. Okay, these two networks will be interconnected. Agreed or not? Okay, so in this sense, on-premise is the one where your IT organization's environment is being present, which means that in this particular environment, all your IT is being hosted over there. Just a moment. Right. Okay. So we were talking about the on-premises, isn't it? Okay. So this on-premises is nothing but the conventional existence of the environment, conventional way of environment that is being existence for any organization. For example, if we consider our college itself, we have our own infrastructure of systems. Okay, we have our own infrastructure of internet resources. Okay, so whatever the resources that are present within our college network, we call that as an on-premise. On-premise. Remember, all these on-premise resources can be accessed from the cloud. That means the cloud that is present away from our network. The cloud that is away from our network. Now, one classic example I would like to give you. For example, you are accessing Neva, isn't it? Okay, so the Neva server is present in the on-premise network. On the other hand, the college has provided you email, domain-based email, that is vidyaniketan.asia domain emails, isn't it? Okay, so whatever that mail server that is present, that is not present in the Vidyaniketan network. In the sense, it is present off-premise. That means the mail server that is catering for vidyaniketan.asia, that server is not present on-premise. It is present off-premise. But whatever the server you are accessing for the Neva or for exam portals or some other institutional websites, what you are trying to access, you call that these servers are present on-premise. Okay, so that is the difference. Though you have your IT resources off-premise, you should be able, in a sense, the business should be happening in accessing those particular off-premise devices as well. I mean to say off-premise IT resources as well. Okay, and there are few particular points in this particular on-premise. We have to remember it exactly. Okay, so on-premise IT resource can be accessed and interacted with any cloud-based IT, and also on-premise IT resource can be moved to cloud and taken away from the cloud. Taken away from the cloud. So for example, now I'm having my Neva server here. Now I can push this Neva server onto the cloud, maybe, or else I can take up that mail server that is being available in the cloud, okay, and I can have it hosted here in our local network itself. That is in the Vidyaniketan IT network itself. You can do that, okay, and also you can have a redundant copy of both. That means I can have both the servers here in the cloud as well and here in the institutional or else conventional network as well. Conventional network as well. So that means the resources which are present within the organizational network, what in other words we'll be calling it as on-premise network, okay. So the resources which are present in the on-premise network can be pushed into the cloud or else can be bought from the cloud, or we can make redundant copies. That means we can have these things both in the cloud network and on the on-premise network. You got it? Okay. So that's about on-premise. And the other concept what we are supposed to understand is cloud consumers and cloud providers. It's as simple as that. Cloud consumers are the one who avail the services from the cloud. And the cloud providers are the one who provide the services about the cloud, who will be providing their services. That's about the cloud consumers and cloud providers. Now, another terminology, which is a crucial terminology in terms of cloud, and very often we'll be using this word, and that is called as scaling. Scaling. Whenever IT resource is available, we were telling that it should be scalable enough. That means its allocation. That means the size of that particular resource, for example, can be increased or decreased depending upon the business need. Well, let us not worry when it has to be decreased or when it has to be increased. Only we understand that these resources should be scalable. Now, coming to the scalable thing, the scalable can be happening in two senses. One is horizontal scaling and another one is vertical scaling. In other words, horizontal scaling can be calling it as scaling in and out. Vertical scaling is called as up and down. Vertical scaling is called as scaling up and down. Few examples I would like to bring in over here to understand better what horizontal scaling is and vertical scaling is. Now, let us understand, we purchased one particular laptop. We purchased one laptop and its hard disk size is, let us assume it is 2 TB. Now I am creating one drive, something I name it as a C drive, D drive, and F drive, something like that. Okay, so C drive, okay, I will allocate something like 500 GB, and D drive I will allocate say something like 1 GB, and another 500 GB I will be allocating it as E drive or F drive, something. Okay, now if I want my D drive to change it from 1 GB to further, then how I should be doing? I should be mixing, or else I should be removing the E drive, and whatever space that is present for the E drive, I should be adding it up to the D drive. Agreed or not? Okay. That means if I want to increase the size of this D drive from 1 GB to the next highest GB, or else the next possible GB, say I would like to make it 1100 GB. Okay, so for that probably I need to cut down the space from other drives, isn't it? That means within the available size of 2 GB, I need to rearrange the memory. Okay, so that is what we'll be calling it as. We'll be calling it as scaling up and down. According to the necessary, I'll be increasing the memory or decreasing the memory. I can give one more example. I'm not sure how many of you people really worked on performance testing tools in the last semester. When we are looking into the performance automation, we are supposed to assign the RAM. There will be one base machine, and this base machine will be having of say 8 GB or 16 GB of RAM. Okay, when I would like to create profiles to run this performance testing, okay, I need to assign certain amount of RAM. I need to configure certain amount of RAM for that. I need to assign certain amount of RAM. So while assigning that RAM, okay, so for one machine, probably I can be assigning 1 GB of RAM. For another machine, I can be assigning 2 GB of RAM, okay, for time being. For one instance, probably. For the next instance, probably, for the same machine, what I previously had assigned 1 GB, I might be needing to assign it to 2 GB or 3 GB further. You got it? Okay. So that means within the available thing, what am I doing? I'm just moving up and down. I'm scaling within the boundary. I'm scaling it up and down, up and down. But in horizontal scaling, it is little bit of different. Now let us assume in the same performance testing example, okay, I have assigned all the 16 GB that is available, that is needed for the particular server. All the 16 GB I have assigned to the systems for the performance testing profiling. Okay, now let us assume I am supposed to create few more performance profiles to test, but the RAM is not sufficient. You agree or not? Okay, say for example, I have created 8 profiles with 2 GB of RAM each, which means maximum is 16 GB, isn't it? But the server RAM itself is 16 GB. That is not sufficient even server to run. Okay, so what I can be doing is I can be including additional RAM to this server. That means I can enhance the RAM of the server. How do I enhance? Can I scale it? Likewise, how I used to do for the virtual thing? No, I cannot scale in such a way. Why? Because that slot that is available for inserting the RAM takes 16 GB only. So what I need to do in the PCB, I need to look for another RAM slot, and I need to purchase another 16 GB RAM, and I need to insert it. You got it? That means how much I am able to scale? Another 16 GB I am able to scale. Another 16 GB I am able to scale. Okay, so how I am doing it? I am either including or else I am inserting another RAM, or I am removing another RAM. That is what scaling in and scaling out. If I very exclusively insert another resource for proper vertical scaling, then you will be calling it as horizontal scaling. Horizontal scaling. That means you will be externally, you will be adding few other IT resources to support the horizontal scaling. But that is not the case with the vertical scaling. Already you will be having certain amount of resources within the size of that existing resource. You will be scaling up and down. That is it. Up and down. You got it? Okay. So that's about vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. Okay. Now, when it comes to the differences between horizontal and vertical scaling, usually you can see that vertical scaling is more expensive, whereas horizontal scaling is less expensive. Why? Because horizontal scaling, you see, whenever you need only, you have to go and purchase for the additional RAM. Agreed or not? But if I think that, okay, I might be creating another 20 or 30 performance profiles, so I need to buy the RAM now itself, and I cannot go in the single shot. I cannot go for 128 GB RAM, all such. You got it? So in that sense, you have to measure how expensive the vertical scaling can be. Vertical scaling can be. Once you have them, then automatically you will be, doing the scaling up and down. The scaling up and down. That's about expense or else the cost difference. But other thing is, usually for the vertical scaling, the IT resources for scalability are very instantly available. Very instantly available. But these are not exactly we cannot call very instantly, but they are also available. They are also available. But you cannot say that, you can take it for granted the scaling can be happening. The scaling can be happening. You cannot say in that sense. Okay. So why? Because for the vertical scaling, always you can see that, the resources are exactly available over there. And whenever you need, you can increase. If not, you'll be decreasing. That is it. Okay. That's how it goes. Okay. Now, it is something like how you increase and decrease the volume and brightness of your mobile or any other devices. That's how it goes. Okay. So it is as quicker enough to increase that volume or not. You say, for example, if you are watching a movie into the on the laptop, and you can be giving it full volume, but still at a point of time you will not be conveniently listening to the audio that is delivered from the laptop. So immediately what you'll be doing, you'll be connecting it to another speaker. So that is horizontal scaling. Now within the laptop, if you are increasing and decreasing the volume, you call that as a vertical scaling. You got it? Okay. Now another difference is resource replication and automated scaling can be happening for the horizontal scaling. Why? Because that is what is the task of virtual administrators. Okay, but usually for the vertical scaling, additional setup is normally needed. Why? Because say if you are running a virtual machine and you have started it with the 2 GB RAM, and all of a sudden you wanted to increase its RAM. Now when that machine is up and running and you cannot change its RAM to 2 to 3 or 4, you have to bring that down, and then you have to change it to the 4, and then again you have to reboot that particular system. So that's how additional setup will be needed. But for the horizontal scaling, you can automate the scaling aspect. That means the device is present, based upon the timelines, you can increase the resource and you can decrease the resources. Now I think best example I can tell is for the IRCTC type. Okay, when you're trying to book the tickets in the Tatkal time, automatically there should be more servers working, isn't it? Okay, so that means so you can attach more number of servers and you can boost them up and running in that particular time frame, and that can be happening automatically. You can automate that process. Okay, that's how the difference is. And the next difference goes is additional IT resources are needed. Definitely, without additional IT resources, you cannot add upon. Like I had told you, whatever the sound device that is available in the laptop, if it is not sufficient, you need to connect it to the speaker. That is an additional resource. But for the vertical scaling, you don't call it as an additional resources. Within the availability of the resource, you will be scaling its utility up and down. That's how it goes. Okay, and horizontal scaling doesn't go by limitations with the hardware capacity, but definitely the vertical scaling goes by the limitations. Like again, I can give the same example. If you are running the VLC player, maximum you can go up to 125% of the volume, but not beyond that. Now, if I connect the same VLC player that is being played on the laptop, if I connect to one amplifier, then automatically its hardware capacity is being increased. But what am I including now? What am I including? I'm including amplifier here, which means additional IT resource, which means that is an horizontal scaling. You got it? Okay. So this is about horizontal and vertical scaling. Don't get confused between horizontal scaling and vertical scaling, though it is a very, very important aspect in the cloud to understand. Okay, we'll be further discussing about this scaling factors in third unit as well. That's about the scaling term. And the fourth term is, sorry, I don't call it as fourth, but the next term is cloud service. So whatever the functions that is being offered to the consumer and provided by the consumer, you'll be calling it as a cloud service. It can be any IT resource, it can be any function, it can be any event, I can say, within the purview of the cloud's boundary. Usually we'll be calling it as IT resources that are available as in terms of the services. Like few people, I think you might have seen in your lab sessions that you are asked to create your web page using WordPress or any other web portal making sites. Okay, so what you can exactly see is that is that particular service is being offered to you. That particular service is being offered to you. If not, you could have created virtual images, isn't it? Okay, so those particular services are being offered to you. Now, how those services are being offered? There are a few IT resources, and these IT resources are turned in terms of the service provisioning entities. Service provisioning entities. Okay, so these cloud services are offered by cloud provider for cloud consumer. And another term that is present here is cloud service consumer. Remember, there is a difference between cloud consumer and cloud service consumer. There is a difference between cloud consumer and cloud service consumer. I think you people would know that Vidyaniketan.asia domain emails are from Outlook, isn't it? Okay. Now for our mails, cloud provider is who? Microsoft is the cloud provider. Agreed? Okay. Now Microsoft is the cloud provider. Who is the cloud consumer now? The cloud consumer is Sri Vidyaniketan. But cloud service consumer is you students. Why? Because the service is directly being consumed by you for Vidyaniketan. You got it? That is the difference. In your Vidyaniketan domain mail IDs, the mail is being provided by the Microsoft, which means that cloud provider is Microsoft, and the cloud consumer is the Sri Vidyaniketan, that is consuming the service from the Microsoft, and it is giving this particular service to its clients. Who are its clients? The students. You got it? Okay. So the students are being given this particular service to consume, and hence you are specifically called as cloud service consumer. Cloud service consumer. You got it? Okay. So do understand the difference between cloud consumer and cloud service consumer. Cloud consumer can be he can be consumer of any cloud entities, any type of service, I can say. But cloud service consumer is exclusively the client's client, we can tell. The client's client. Likewise, we can be telling. Okay. So today I will stop here. And in the next class, we will discuss benefits and a few goals of the cloud computing. Having any doubts, you are free to ask. If not, we will end the class. Thank you.